The earnings tax brings in $200 million a year in revenue for Kansas City.
It's a 1% hike on the wages of those who live or work in the city. But it's up for a public vote in April for the first time in decades. And Chris Hernandez is looking at the issue in depth this week.
Well, Elizabeth, in tonight's report, we're going to take a look at how some people manage to avoid paying at least part of the e-tax every year. You see, if you live in the burbs and work in the city, it's something you can try when your business takes you out of town.
When pro athletes play in Kansas City, they pay Kansas City. Visiting athletes pay $400,000 in earnings tax revenue annually. Here's the form they fill out to file those taxes after playing in Kansas City. But here's another form you can use to move your money the other way, back into your pocket.
All of my sales that came out of the Kansas side, I was able to deduct and not have to pay e-tax on that.
When James Path lived in Kansas City but did business outside the city limits, he always deducted that part of the e-tax from what he owed the city.
That was when I prorated it and avoided what I could.
He's a salesman, but it's a trick used by many professional services workers. Downtown lawyers who work a 2-week trial in Des Moines can deduct. So can someone from American Century who spends time in New York on Wall Street. They just have to file for a refund.
It may only be $200 or $300, but it's still my $200 or $300 and not theirs. I didn't earn it for them. I earned it for my family.
We don't bill. This is a voluntary payment.
When people prorate their e-tax, it can trigger an audit to see if they were really out of town.
If there are refunds over a certain limit, they would audit that. We also do selective audits and random audits.
The city's finance director says they enforce e-tax payments and find cheats by cross-checking IRS records, business licenses, and even water records.
And on the subject of how the city collects the tax, people who live in Kansas City but who work in the suburbs are supposed to self-report the tax. Some viewers have written in to complain that they know of people who should pay but don't. Now, tomorrow we'll take a look at what may happen if the earnings tax is repealed. Chris Hernandez, NBC Action News.